you ever watched your cat sleep in a sunbeam and thought, what a peaceful, harmless little creature? You're completely wrong. Beneath that soft, purring, highly squishable exterior is the mind of a finely tuned, highly specialized apex predator. Genetically, your house cat is almost identical to its wild ancestor, the African wildcat. If you look at the DNA of a domestic dog and a wolf, you will see massive differences. Dogs have been genetically altered by humans over thousands of years to guard, herd, and fetch. Cats essentially just walked indoors one day, decided the food was decent, and changed absolutely nothing about themselves. They have the exact same hunting instincts, the exact same territorial needs, and the exact same sensory superpowers as a creature fighting for its life in the harsh desert. The only difference is that the African wildcat roams across miles of unforgiving terrain, hunting for its next meal, while your cat is confined to a two-bedroom apartment with a squishy couch and a fancy water fountain. When you take a creature built purely for hunting, claiming territory, and surviving the wild, and you lock them inside a climate controlled box with free food and zero danger, things start to get weird. Very weird. The cat's brain is constantly firing ancient biological signals that say hunt, patrol, survive. But their modern environment says sleep, eat kibble, stare at a wall. This massive daily disconnect between a cat's wild instincts and its incredibly boring indoor reality leads to what is essentially a quiet psychological breakdown. Every weird, annoying, or funny thing your cat does is actually a coping mechanism. Let's look at exactly what is happening inside their head, starting with that cute, funny little thing they do by the glass. If we could hear your cat's internal monologue while they stare out the living room window, it would sound something like this. I am on patrol. The giant clear force field allows me to survey my kingdom. Wait, what is that? A bird. It is mocking me. It lands on the branch, twitching its delicious little feathers. My jaw chatters automatically, ek ek ek. I crouch. My pupils widen to let in maximum light. I calculate the trajectory. I pounce and I hit the force field again. The bird flies away. I am boiling with unspent fury. I will now aggressively lick my own shoulder to pretend I meant to do that. To you, a cat sitting by a window looks like a pet enjoying the scenic view. In reality, the window is a source of intense psychological stress known to behaviorists as barrier frustration. Cats are highly territorial animals. In the wild, if they see a prey animal or a rival intruder in their territory, they take immediate physical action. The window is a cruel trick. It allows them to see all the biological triggers, but the glass completely blocks the physical release. This creates a massive buildup of adrenaline and cortisol, the stress hormone, inside their tiny bodies. That weird clicking or chattering sound they make at the birds, biologists call it a vacuum activity. Their brain is so overstimulated by the sight of the bird that their jaw automatically begins practicing the kill bite. This is the precise bite to the back of the neck that severs a bird's spinal cord. Your cat is daydreaming about the hunt so vividly that their body exits out, but they are left entirely unfulfilled. When this hunting sequence is blocked by the glass, the cat experiences displacement behavior. This is why a cat will often suddenly groom themselves aggressively after failing to catch a bug or hitting a window. The grooming is a self-soothing mechanism, exactly like a human nervously biting their nails when they are stressed out. Now, fast forward to 2 a.m. The house is completely dark. You are fast asleep, and your cat's brain suddenly turns on and says, the time is now. I must run. I launch off the back of the couch, drift around the kitchen island, and parkour off the hallway wall. I don't know what I am chasing. I don't know what I am running from. I just know I must reach maximum velocity immediately. I leap onto the human's bed, step directly on their face with my back paw, and sprint into the darkness. You know this phenomenon as the midnight zoomies. Scientifically, it's called a frenetic random activity period, or FRAP, and it is a glaring symptom of a suppressed predatory drive. To understand this, you have to understand the feline internal clock. Humans are diurnal, meaning we are active during the day. Cats are crepuscular, meaning their brains are hardwired by evolution to be most active at dawn and dusk. Why? Because out in the wild, this is the exact time when their natural prey, mice and birds, are waking up or going to sleep, making them the easiest targets. When your cat lives indoors, those crepuscular instincts don't just magically disappear. However, your indoor cat doesn't have to spend hours stalking, chasing, and fighting for their meals. They sleep for up to 16 hours a day, storing up massive reserves of physical energy. When dusk or dawn rolls around, their brain pumps them full of adrenaline, screaming at them to go hunt. But there is nothing to hunt except the dust bunny. The zoomies are literally a psychological pressure valve releasing. All the pent up predatory energy that was supposed to be used wrestling a rat is instead expelled by sprinting aimlessly around your living room. And then there is the obsession with the box. You go to the pet store and bring home a massive, expensive, fluffy velvet bed. You set it down, but your cat's perspective is fools. Do they not see the masterpiece sitting right next to it? A brown, slightly ripped, perfectly square cardboard box from Amazon. I must enter it. I squeeze my body inside. The walls press tightly against my fur. I am hidden. I am invisible. From this dark fortress, I can watch the world, and no one can sneak up on my flanks. I am the ultimate ambush master. This strong preference for cheap cardboard over luxury furniture is rooted in a psychological concept called tigmotaxis. This is the desire to seek physical contact with a solid object in order to feel secure. In the wild, a cat is a contradictory creature. Yes, they are fierce predators, but because they are only 8 to 10 pounds, they are also prey to larger animals like coyotes, wolves, and eagles. An indoor cat's brain is constantly running a background program checking for danger. Being out in the open is psychologically taxing. It requires them to be alert 360 degrees around. A cardboard box solves this biological problem perfectly. By pressing themselves into a tight space with solid walls, the cat completely eliminates the need to watch their back. They only have to watch the single exit point. Furthermore, cats are ambush predators. They do not run down their prey over long distances like wolves do. They hide, wait, and strike. A box acts as a psychological shield against an overwhelming world. Studies in animal shelters have proven that cats given hiding boxes experience a massive drop in cortisol levels compared to cats left out in the open. The box instantly drops their stress. But what about when they actually want your attention? You start petting them. The cat thinks, "This feels magnificent. The scratches behind the ears are divine." Yes, human, continue. But wait. The human moved their hand to my belly. Stroke 1. Okay. Stroke 2. This is getting intense. Stroke 3. I must defend myself. And they wrap their front paws around your wrist, engage their back bunny kicking legs, and sink their teeth into your flesh. This intense psychological flip is known as petting induced aggression. A cat's hair follicles are incredibly sensitive. Their fur is literally designed to detect the slightest change in air currents in the dark to help them navigate and feel the tiny movements of prey. When you pet a cat with long continuous strokes down their back or on their highly sensitive belly, their nerve endings are overstimulated. It feels like being tickled. At first, it might feel okay, but if it doesn't stop, it becomes physically painful and overwhelming, causing panic. Furthermore, the cat's belly is their most vulnerable area. All of their vital organs are housed right there under a thin layer of skin. In the feline world, a cat exposing their belly to you is a sign of deep trust and relaxation. It is a visual communication that says, "I feel safe with you." It is absolutely not an invitation for a belly rub. When you reach down and touch it, their primal brain panics, thinking their organs are under attack, which triggers an instant, involuntary defensive reflex. Speaking of trust and territory, they also need to protect their space. From the cat's point of view, I wake up from a wonderful nap. I need to stretch. I walk over to the large, expensive fabric rectangle the humans sit on. I reach my paws up high, sink my claws deep into the tight fabric, and pull. It feels amazing. But more importantly, I am leaving my signature. My scent screams to the world. I live here. This is my territory. The human runs into the room, yelling and clapping their hands. Why are they angry? I was just writing my name on the furniture. Humans often misinterpret scratching as a cat deliberately trying to destroy things out of spite. Psychologically, cats do not possess the cognitive capacity for spite or revenge. Scratching serves a critical, hardwired psychological need. Yes, it physically sheds the dead outer layers of their claws, but more importantly, it is how they communicate. Cats have scent glands located right between the pads of their paws. When they scratch, they leave behind pheromones, chemical messages that other animals can smell. To a cat, your indoor house is a shared territory. To feel safe in that territory, they need their environment to smell like them. The couch is usually placed in the center of the living room, which is the social hub of the house, where everyone gathers. Psychologically, this makes the couch the most valuable piece of real estate in the entire house to mark. By scratching the couch, the cat is leaving a visual sign with the torn fabric and a chemical sign with the pheromones that says, "This space is secure and I belong here." Deny them a proper place to scratch, and they will experience severe spatial anxiety. Feeding time is yet another psychological minefield for an indoor cat. The cat approaches the bowl and thinks, "The human has poured hard, dry pebbles into my bowl again." I approach it. My whiskers brush against the sides of the deep plastic bowl, sending uncomfortable shockwaves into my face. It literally hurts. Also, the food is right next to my water bowl. Disgusting. In the wild, if water is next to a dead animal, the water is probably poisoned by the guts. I refuse to drink it. I will now stare at the human and scream until they fix this insulting situation. This is a real phenomenon called whisker fatigue. A cat's whiskers are not just long hairs. They are highly complex sensory organs called vibrissae. They are rooted deeply in the face, connected directly to the nervous system, and help the cat measure space and detect the slightest movement. When you put food in a deep, narrow bowl, the cat's whiskers constantly bend and scrape against the sides while they try to eat. This causes actual sensory overload and physical discomfort. The cat isn't being a picky diva, their face hurts. And the water placement? Your cat's wild instincts scream that water next to food is a fatal hazard. In nature, if a predator makes a kill, the blood and viscera can easily contaminate nearby water sources. Therefore, a cat's brain tells them that stagnant water near a food source equals death. This is why your cat might ignore their water bowl entirely and instead beg to drink from a running sink faucet. Evolution has taught them that running water is clean and safe, while stagnant water is a risk. This brings us to one of the most misunderstood behaviors of all, the gravity test. You are sitting at the table. Your cat jumps up, looks you dead in the eye, slowly extends a paw, and pushes your glass of water off the edge. It shatters. From the cat's perspective, the house is completely static. Nothing is moving. I am incredibly bored. I push this shiny object. It falls. It makes a loud noise. The human immediately jumps up and starts making noises at me. Excellent. I have trained the human to react on command. When a cat knocks things off a table, they are doing two things. First, their paws have highly sensitive pads that they use to explore their environment and test the physical properties of potential prey. They are literally testing if the object will scurry away like a mouse. Second, and more importantly for indoor cats, it is a learned attention-seeking behavior driven by understimulation. If a cat is bored and wants you to interact with them, they quickly learn that knocking your phone or a glass off the table guarantees a reaction. Even if you are yelling, negative attention is still attention, and it breaks the crushing monotony of their day. They also try to break this monotony by bringing you gifts. You wake up to find a drool-covered toy mouse, or worse, a dead cockroach, sitting on your chest. The cat thinks, "My human is a giant, hairless, incredibly incompetent kitten. I have never once seen them catch a mouse. If I do not provide for them, they will starve. Here, giant baby, I have brought you food. Learn from me." In the wild, mother cats bring dead or injured prey back to the den to teach their kittens how to eat and how to hunt. When your cat brings you a toy or a bug, they are acting out this deep seated maternal or pack instinct. They are trying to teach you how to survive because, from their perspective, you are a terrible hunter. We also have to talk about the act of making biscuits or kneading. Your cat climbs onto your lap, purrs like an engine, and begins rhythmically pushing their front paws in and out of your leg, often extending their claws. The feline perspective: I am safe. I am warm. I am transported back to the days of my youth. Nursing from my mother, I push to make the milk flow. I am at complete peace, even if I am slightly puncturing the human's thigh. Kneading is a biological regression to kittenhood. Kittens need their mother's belly to stimulate milk production. When an adult indoor cat needs you or a soft blanket, their brain is releasing a flood of calming endorphins. It is the ultimate sign of contentment, deeply rooted in their earliest memories of survival and comfort. But not everything is comforting. In fact, the most vulnerable moment in an indoor cat's entire life revolves around the litter box. I need to use the bathroom. I go to the plastic box the human has provided. It is pushed into a dark, noisy corner next to the roaring washing machine. There is a lid on it, trapping all the smells inside. I carefully step in. I am entirely trapped. If an enemy comes, I have no escape route. I quickly do my business, furiously kick sand over it to hide my scent from larger predators, and sprint out of the room as fast as I can. Humans prefer litter boxes to be hidden, covered, and tucked away in dark corners to hide the smell and sight. Cats absolutely hate this. A covered litter box with only one exit triggers intense claustrophobia and a fear of being ambushed. If another pet, or a loud noise like a furnace turning on, startles them while they are inside a covered box, they will associate that box with severe trauma and start going to the bathroom on your rug instead. Furthermore, cats bury their waste due to survival psychology. In the wild, dominant cats will often leave their waste completely uncovered on the edges of their territory as a blatant warning to other cats. Smaller submissive cats bury their waste to hide their presence so larger predators don't find them. By burying their waste in a litter box, your indoor cat is playing out the psychological role of a hidden survivor trying not to be detected. If they sprint out of the box like a maniac the second they are done, it isn't because they are happy to be empty. It is because their survival instinct told them to flee the vulnerable danger zone before a predator spots them. When an environment is entirely devoid of stimulation, an intelligent animal will slowly start to lose its mind. Zoologists call this zoochosis, the repetitive, unnatural behavior seen in captive animals, like a tiger pacing back and forth in a small zoo enclosure. Indoor cats experience a miniature version of this. When they have no mental stimulation, no puzzles to solve, no prey to hunt, no new scents to smell, they develop extreme boredom and anxiety. One of the most tragic results of this psychological breakdown is obsessive overgrooming. Grooming releases endorphins that soothe a cat. But when a cat is chronically bored or stressed, they begin to use grooming as an addiction to cope with their empty environment. They will lick themselves completely bald, usually on their bellies or their inner thighs. The rough scraping of their tongue becomes the only thing in their environment they can control. Other signs of this psychological breakdown include excessive vocalization, howling at nothing in the middle of the night, or sudden, unprovoked aggression toward other pets in the house. The cat's brain is essentially short circuiting from a massive lack of data input.